Okay, here's a case you've probably heard about by now. I haven't talked about it yet, mainly because it's the kind of thing that makes me so angry that I can't really talk about it without saying things that will get me in trouble. So I'll try to control myself here. But this is a New York Post report. A Missouri teenager was left in critical condition after her head repeatedly was bashed into the concrete during a massive off-campus high school brawl that was caught on camera. The fight involving the teenage girl, whose identity has not been released, broke out around 2:30 p.m. Friday at an intersection just north of Hazelwood High School. Devastating footage of the melee posted online shows two teenage girls starting to hit each other on a residential road. When one pushes the other to the ground and punches her, the victim can be seen trying to push her attacker away as the girl continues to pummel her while repeatedly calling her a quote unquote. The attacker then straddles her victim and repeatedly smashes her head into the concrete road as onlookers can be heard yelling, "Damn." Soon the victim can be seen lying motionless on the ground while others continue to fight around her. When the camera eventually turns back around, the victim, seen wearing a white hoodie and blue jeans, appears to twitch. By the time police officers arrived, officers found the girl suffering from a severe head injury. The victim was taken to a local hospital where she is listed in critical condition. Another unidentified 15-year-old girl was later taken into custody on assault charges. Okay, I'm not going to play the video. You can easily find it if you want to. I'll just say a few things about this. And first of all, again, what we're seeing in these videos, and in this one girl on top of the other one pounding her head into the pavement. This is not what any of us, or at least what most of us, grew up with. Okay, these are not schoolyard fights, and the media reports that they're fights, and even in the report that I just read, we hear brawl, fight, melee, but that's not right, because this is not a fight. Okay, kids have always fought in school, and that's the problem with calling these things a fight. Is that when you hear that, you think, oh, okay, yeah, kids have been fighting for as long as human beings have existed. But that's not this. A fight is one thing. Okay, you're always going to have fights. It's not good, but you're always going to have fights. But this is different. Getting on top of somebody when they're already lying on the ground and they've been beaten, right? And bashing their head repeatedly into the pavement. That's not a fight. That's attempted murder is what that is. That's you trying to kill someone. If somebody's on the ground and we see these videos so often. If someone's on the ground and you got the group of thugs all around them, kicking their head, pounding their head into the pavement. That is an attempt to kill them. You're trying to kill them. You want to inflict maximum harm up to and including death. And as I've explained in the past when we've talked about this, it not to idolize the past, but that's not how it worked, right? When we were kids growing up and there were fights in school, now sure, sometimes it would get kind of brutal. There were many of us have examples we can think of particularly gruesome episodes, but for the most part, the goal was not really to inflict maximum harm on the other person. The goal was performance. Really, it was like trying to show off to everybody else that you're tough and you beat this person. That's all you're trying to do. But there's not any great desire to make this person feel as much pain as you can possibly make them feel. Certainly not any desire to kill them. But that's what we're seeing now. And there really is no difference in the mentality of the girl who committed this assault and the mentality of a school shooter. Right? It's the same kind of mentality. It's a total lack of humanity. It's a desire to inflict as much harm as possible, just for the sake of it. And yet school shooters get a lot of press, a lot of attention, although they are still thankfully rare, not as rare as they should be, but it's still a thankfully rare phenomenon to have a school shooting. But this kind of thing that we see in this video, this is common. I mean, this is constant. This is every day now. These totally soulless kids who enjoy hurting other people and want to hurt them as much as they possibly can. And yes, they may not be using a gun. I mean, sometimes they are. But that may not be the weapon of choice. But it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of phenomenon. And it's constant. And we don't recognize this as the same kind of problem, even though it's more pervasive and presents a greater threat because of its greater pervasiveness. And I think we don't recognize that for two reasons. One is that It doesn't help the gun control agenda because oftentimes there aren't guns being used. And the other is that in these kinds of videos, the often unspoken thing that we're not supposed to talk about, especially in the media, although it's true, is that in these kinds of videos, the assailants are almost always, though not always, black. And not always, but almost always. If there's a video of somebody lying on the ground and a kid is stomping on that person's head or pounding their head into the pavement, before you even watch the video, you can guess the assailant is probably a black kid, and you'll be right almost always. And we all know that. I mean, it's just a fact. It's a reality. We all know it. You cannot deny it. You can deny it, but you can't deny it with any credibility. And it does matter because it's the main reason why we aren't having the conversation about this issue that we should be having. Because it's not useful. Again, to the gun control agenda, it's not useful to the left. And then when you factor in the racial element, it's not only not useful, but it brings up all kinds of uncomfortable things for them that they don't want to talk about. Are you struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns this year? The IRS is escalating collections by adding 20,000 new agents. In these challenging times, your best defense is to use Tax Network USA. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. These guys are not your friends. Do not waive your rights and speak to these agents on your own without backup. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients so they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help. Whether it's businesses or personal taxes, whether you have the means to pay or you're on a fixed income, Tax Network can help you resolve your tax burden once and for all. Seize control of your financial future now and don't let tax issues overpower you. Contact Tax Network USA for immediate relief and expert guidance. Call 1-800-245-6000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh. Turn to Tax Network USA and find your path to financial peace of mind. That's tnusa.com/Walsh. So then we can't discuss why is this happening? Why is this so common? What can we do about it? Why are these kids treating each other that way? Why are there other kids, what about everybody else sitting around filming it? You're watching a girl potentially die right in front of you, and you're just filming it. You want to have a national conversation about something? It should be about that. The second point about all this is that, speaking of what can be done about it, the girl, the attacker, needs to face severe consequences. And there's a debate now about, should she be charged as an adult? Of course she should be. And this should be kind of simple, right? If you kill someone or you try to kill someone or you almost kill someone, you automatically graduate to adult in the eyes of the court. I mean, that's the way it ought to be. It's not the way it often works, and it probably won't work that way in this case, but it should. If you commit an adult crime, you get an adult punishment. So sure, I mean, we should take into account that somebody as a kid is a juvenile if they're arrested for like vandalism or something. And that's not to say that vandalism is not cannot be a serious crime in its own right. But, if you have a kid arrested for vandalism, graffiti, knocking over somebody's mailbox or whatever, then yeah, I think it makes sense to take into account that they're a kid. Like if I go at the age of 37 and I throw eggs at somebody's house on Halloween, the penalty for me should be pretty serious because I'm 37 years old. Now, if I did it at the age of 17, which I may or may not have done at 17, the penalty should be far less serious because that's the kind of thing that kids will do because they're young and stupid and they're not thinking about the consequences. And it's not especially malicious, at least it's not intended to be. So there's no reason to turn it into a serious, life-altering thing after the fact. But serious violent crimes are a different matter, and those need to be dealt with in a different way. And the fact is this, the girl who was slamming the other girl's head into the pavement, that girl, let's just be honest about it, she's not going to become a contributing member of society. Like it's probably just, check back at, let's say she doesn't go to jail. Check back in 20 years. What's she up to? Is she a brain surgeon now? Is she, what is she doing? Is she a married mother of 4 in a happy marriage with the same guy and, stay-at-home mom? Almost certainly not. And we all know that. she has put herself on a path, and that path leads to more crime and more violence. And it just does. And again, everybody knows it. So should we put her back out on the street so that she can walk that path freely and claim however many victims along the way until she does something so heinous that even our modern court system with its kid gloves has no choice but to put her away for good? Like, is that what we should do? Or should we head it off at the pass and just throw her in prison for a long time and say, you're 15 or 16 years old, however old she is, you're already trying to beat someone to death with your bare hands? It's just, you're out. That's a one strike, you're out, and you're done. And we're not going to see you for a long time. We cannot have you in society. We just cannot have you. You're the kind of person that it's not fair to ask anyone to be around you. And yeah, it's very sad. It's sad. It is very sad. It's sad, first of all, because of what happened to the victim, but it's also sad thinking about the 15 or 16-year-old girl that her whole life is she's given up, she's squandered it at such a young age. It's a very sad thing. But we just have to ask ourselves, do we want to heap more sad things on top of the one sad? It's like the fact that she is that kind of person and that we have no choice but to put her in a cage for many, many years, and she's not going to see the light of day. Like, that's sad, incredibly sad. But if you don't, then you still have this person living this sad life, and they're going to create a lot of other very sad situations along the way and just accrue tragedy and more victims until, again, you just have no choice but to put her somewhere. I just don't think that's a choice. And again, it's not fair to everybody else. Like that girl, I don't want to be around her. I don't want my kids around her. I don't ever want to be near her. I don't want to be around that kind of person. I shouldn't be required to be around them. Not fit for society. Not fit. So you're gone. That's the way it has to be. And if we all feel very icky about putting kids in prison, which it is an icky thing, then the real conversation we need to be having is like, how are we creating so many kids that need to go to prison? That's the question. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.